Hello, good morning. Today is February 19th, and while I do have my computer open for work, I'm not logged on yet. We're not quite there yet. And I was just going through some emails and checking things before I formally log on. You just got to do that sometimes. You just got to get through things and then log on. um, but I wanted to film a day in the life video for what it's like, what it's been like for me working full time and being in school. And now here's the deal. Yesterday, I tried to film that and actually film my day. And I just don't feel like I was getting enough footage. And I feel like that's because my day is not super exciting. It's definitely busy, but it's also kind of like all at my desk for the most part. So, what I figured I would do instead is I would freestyle this clip right here and just tell you what a day in a life has looked like for someone working full time and going back to school for a bachelor's in accounting. And I'll splice in some videos of what that actually looks like here and there when I get the chance to actually film, because that's the other thing is I just kept on forgetting to film throughout the day. Um, so it wasn't making for the best video, but my daily schedule from when I started my degree to now, where I've got like a quarter and a half left of school, has looked really different. Um, whether it was fall, winter, or spring quarter, I feel like the days looked different. The summer certainly looked very different when I was only in like one class or zero classes, depending on what time of the year or what time of the season it was. But I figured I would just walk through what yesterday looked like for me. I feel like yesterday was a pretty good example of what a day in the life looked like for someone in school and working full time. So I figured I would go ahead and start there. So let's talk about it. We wake up at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. has certainly not been my wake up time for all of my degree. I would say for the first year of my degree, I was probably waking up closer to 8. And sorry, I'm a little bit froggy still, morning voice. Um, and I actually take that back. I want to say actually for the first quarter of my degree, I was waking up closer to 8. I usually don't have to log on to work until 8:30. So I wasn't doing homework until after work. That changed pretty quickly going into the second quarter of my degree because I realized studying after work is just not it for me, or at least it can't be all of it. Like, I'm pretty burnt out from the workday and don't want to be looking at screens in the evening. So what I quickly did was I changed my schedule and I started getting up at 7 in the morning and getting in an hour and a half before even the workday started. And I found that was a lot better for me just because I wasn't clouded with all of the thoughts about the workday yet. And my nervous system was still pretty calm because I was kind of also in the process of still waking up. Um, but so what that looks like for me now is so I get up at 7, um, and my partner also gets up at 7, so it helps that we're both up in the morning. And yesterday, I instead of going to my desk or getting on the walking pad, which is what I used to do, and I would walk and watch a lecture in the morning, or I would sit at my desk and go through a homework assignment. I've been kind of lazy now that I'm in the easier classes, so I instead just hopped back into bed after saying goodbye to my partner and got my laptop and did a discussion board from there and watched some videos too. But that lasted a good 45 minutes to an hour. Um, so it's even though I'm in bed, I certainly am still getting work done. Um, and thankfully, I'm not someone who falls asleep very easily if I'm up and at it already. But so then, yeah, 8 o'clock kind of rolls around, and I'll probably go upstairs and I will make my trifecta of drinks and food. And right now, what that looks like, and I actually have them all here at my desk, but I don't. My phone is kind of precariously stood up, so I don't want to knock it over by showing you what I have. But I make an Earl Grey tea. I use the Twinings tea and I have decaf. I don't drink caffeine because I have too much sensitivity to it, with a little bit of milk. And then I have this leftover like gallon of Minute Maid, but like the strawberry flavor, and it's diet. And it was from a party that I hosted, but we forgot to like either open it or no one wanted it. And so what I've been doing over the past couple weeks is I'll pour in like a fourth cup of it into my smoothie tumbler, which I'm currently using as a water bottle. And I'll just use that 1/4 cup just to give it like a little bit of essence, really. And then I'll fill it up with water, and I just try to really get liquids in the morning. I think it really helps just keep the body flowing. And then I have over here, you can't see it, it's over there, um, is like a half cup of those peanut butter pretzels from Costco. I wish I was like a chia seed pudding person or like veggie quiche, which I love, but like don't have the energy to make every single day. Um, and so I wish I was like a healthier breakfast person, but honestly, the salt from the peanut butter pretzels and the peanut butter and the crunchiness, oh, it's amazing. So I have a half cup of peanut butter pretzels in the morning with all of those things. And together, that is my trifecta of things that I get. And I might also like, I'll open the window shades, I'll like kind of straighten up the upstairs, like if any laundry needs to be started, which I do need to do. I actually do have some laundry that I should do while I am working this morning. Um, I'll start that. So just like house chores, and then by 8:30 I'm logging on to work. And really from like 8:30 to like 4:35, I really am just like at my desk for most of the day. Sometimes I will maybe take like a quick lap around the neighborhood during lunch if I get the chance and the weather feels decent, here in the greater Seattle area. It doesn't need to be nice for you to take a walk, just not raining is an excuse enough. But I'll also throw things in like I will, in between meetings, maybe I will run a load of dishes or do the laundry or I'll vacuum. And it's pretty standard kind of like work from home stuff. And then after I get off work, I will try to do, I have this like list of what you could call New Year's resolutions or goals. And that is a series of like, I will do stretching. I'm trying to get my splits right now, my front and middle. I've kind of been neglecting working on my middle splits. It's mostly been my front splits. Um, but I try to do that. I try to play the piano for 10 minutes. I have a Duolingo streak for Spanish that I'm trying to keep up. I'm also a fan of the Index app. That's like the clothes tracking app. And so I will log what I've worn for the day on Index. And all of that together, like my stretching alone can be like 20 minutes. And so all that together, that's like a 45-minute to an hour situation. Maybe, oh, and I have PT. I have PT for my hip and for my shoulders. Um, I had a shoulder injury over the summer, and then I just have ongoing issues with my kind of my left hip, lower back, and so I do kind of like a lot of quad strengthening, and then I also try to roll out my left quad and like what do they call that? Is that like your IT band? I roll that out too. Um and so yeah, all that together is like an hour, and so sometimes I try to get it all done at the end of the after like the end of the workday. Sometimes if I'm feeling not inspired to do any homework in the morning, if I'm really like struggling to get out of bed, I will instead do all of that in the morning and then save homework for the evening. I feel like these days homework in the evening is not so bad for me, especially because my classes are just so much more manageable. Um, but definitely in my first year, I really prioritized homework in the morning and then more homework in the evening, but it had less pressure on it because I had already done some in the morning. Um okay, but where are we? We're at like 5:30 right now. And so here, this is where things it becomes hard to film because I am like a religious dance class taker. And so I would say at least 4 days a week I am in dance class after work. That was not always the case in my first year, especially when I was going through the intermediate accounting series. There were definitely weeks where I was not hitting 4 classes a week. I was hitting maybe like 2 or maybe even like 1 if I just like had the homework that I needed to do in the evening. But these days, I'm able to really manage my time well in the evening with getting my work done and, all the other personal life admin that there is out there. So I would say anywhere from like 5:30 to like 8, I could be in a dance class. Um, but outside of that, maybe I'm doing more homework. Maybe my partner's come home and we're making dinner and just kind of catching up from the day. Maybe I'm finishing out all of those like daily to do items that I mentioned earlier. Um, what else? What else? Oh, something that was unique to yesterday. I had a team meeting from 5:30 to 6:30, and it went the full hour. So that's also kind of like in place of doing homework last night. Like I attended this team meeting that like went for a full hour for a project I'm doing in one of my capstone classes. But that's kind of what the evening looks like. And then I was definitely victim of staying up pretty late in my first year when I was going through the intermediate accounting series, just because I knew myself well enough that like I just needed to spend so much time with the content. I just really needed to be like I almost needed like exposure therapy to all of that work and exposure therapy in the sense that I just needed to be around it to absorb it. And so I kind of took the approach of like studying for me was definitely like a muscle memory type thing where like if I took a couple days off, I would forget the content. And so instead I just like really made sure to just like spend a lot of time with it. So um, weekdays and then weekends could easily be like like 4, 5, 6, 7 hour workday, but not actually working, just studying. And I'm so happy to be out of that. It really is just like so not healthy for you. I mean, it's great to be learning that much, but also it's just like that much screen time really hurts the brain. So if you're in that situation still, I feel you. I feel for you. But remember, it's just a season and just power through it. And when you do it, you'll be done with it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what the day looks like for me. By like 9, anywhere from like 9, 9:30, 10 is when my partner and I try to get ready to go to bed. If we're watching a really good TV series, maybe that's closer to like 10, 10:30 if we can't peel away from the TV. But I think we both agreed that if we can try to be winding down at around 9:30, that's probably the best situation for the both of us just to make sure there's time to like chit chat before bed about the day, or we like to play the New York Times games before we go to bed. So we'll go through all of those on the phone, and then I could get sucked into playing crossplay now that that's a new app. And I like love Scrabble, so crossplay is like really up my alley. But that's really what the day looks like. I would really stress that like these days, my schedule is just so much easier with these like less demanding classes. I feel like I was really kind of on one when I was going through the intermediate accounting series just because I just knew I needed to be exposed to the content all the time, like I was saying. So it was really hard for me to not feel like I shouldn't be uh, reviewing in periods of not having anything to do. And I know it's going to be like a period of unlearning once I get out of school of like how to actually calm down after work and not feel like I have more to do. Um, Thankfully, my work isn't like at the position and like the level that I am right now, I don't feel like in the evenings that I'm like thinking about work. I've definitely been in that position with other jobs before. So I'm anticipating that could also be the case depending on what path I take after I graduate. And even if I like stay with my current org and get promoted, that could be the case where I'm more concerned about work after hours. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm just like trying to really soak up not feeling so stressed after work and um, like really trying to let my nervous system calm down, which I think is something that's hard to you like when you're done with school or when you're in periods of slow, like you really want to just be able to enjoy the time off, but it's hard when your body's been kind of hardwired to do the opposite for such a extensive period of time. So we're working on that. Um, I guess other things I want to mention is that like what you're not seeing is there definitely were days in my lives as a or days in my life as a full-time working person who's also getting an accounting degree. um, I'm losing my track of thought. But what I'm trying to get at is there were days where I would take PTO to do homework. I mentioned this in my last video, and I like pre-plan it and I get it approved with my boss to make sure that it's like a time where it's okay for me to take that leave. Um, but if I didn't want to be getting in that like minimum 2, maybe 3 hours a day of studying on top of work, what I would do is take a day of PTO and then just have like a full work day basically of homework. And that really, really helped to offset the rest of the week. So I can make sure that I was still like going to dance classes and getting outside and cooking and like doing all the normal human things. Um, so I highly, highly recommend that if you are in the position and able to do that and, have the PTO to begin with. Um, Also, for reference, I think this is actually kind of a big thing that I should have pointed out is that I have pretty consistently been taking 2 classes per quarter, and those are 2 5-credit classes. So I guess for like a standard student, if you were like only going back to school, or if this was like your first degree, that would technically not be considered full time. But because I'm a post baccalaureate student and this is my second degree, at my institution, I believe you only need to be taking like 6 or 8 credits to be considered full time. So with my 10 credits per quarter, I have been considered full time. Okay, with that, that is all I have for you. I hope this gives you more insight as to what a day in the life looks like. I think that's all I have for you. Talk to you later. Bye.